Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for ICONversations. The ICON program is designed to celebrate our company's top producers. These agents have gone far above capping status and are now earning back their paid company dollar with various stock grants, which are earned by reaching exceptional milestones. Today, we have an amazing ICONversations for you. We have John Glutch from Arizona. We have Joey Torkeldson from Minnesota. From New York, we have Mackenzie Kelly. From Ontario, we have William Mansauer. And from Chicago, we have Christine May. Christine, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. It's crazy to be in 2025 already. I feel like 2024 passed by so quickly. But, we're all here and excited to get the year going. So there's going to be some very exciting topics that we talk about today. Kind of just wanted to start off with some introductions with the panel. Can we just kind of all go around, introduce our names, where we're from, and what's a consistent habit that we all do? I'll start. My name is Christine May. I'm from Chicago, downtown, and a consistent habit that I do is at the end of the night, I play the New York Times crosswords, and I think it really just helps me kind of get my brain going a little bit, but getting a little sleepy as well. And then in the mornings, I try to meditate and not look at my phone before getting started, because I know as soon as I look at my phone, my brain is just going to go off and try to respond to everyone. But, taking those first hour to the day without looking at my phone really helps me ground myself and put myself first before anything else, so that I can be healthy and then go crank things out during the workday. So how about William? Do you want to go next?
Sure. Thanks for showing up for yourself today, and thanks to all the organizers putting this together. My name's Will Mansour. I'm based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I specialize in niche marketing. Last year, I took $4,700 in ad spend and generated $124,000 in GCI. And my consistent habit, other than being consistent, is investing in myself before I invest in others. I used to invest in others more before I put myself forward, and I'm not getting any younger. So for me now, the plan is to take care of me so I can take care of others.
Absolutely. I love that. If you're, what do they say? It's like, if you're not, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but if you're not healthy yourself and you're not fulfilled yourself, then you can't really help others to the best of your ability.
Exactly.
Perfect. Do you want to pass the torch to the next person?
Sure. Mackenzie, you're free to go.
Thanks, Will. My name is Mackenzie Kelly. I am in Syracuse, New York, so it's central New York. I have been a full-time agent for 13 years. My habits, I guess, I'm trying to get better about, like Will said, taking time for yourself, focusing. I'm really going to try and get back to exercising. I fell off a little bit, but that's what I'm going to try and make a habit of this year. So that's me. I'm going to send it on to Joey, Joey, I'm from Minnesota, so I'm curious to hear where you're located.
Love it. My name is Joey Torkeldson, and I'm from the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. I live in Shoreview myself, and super excited to be here. Happy New Year, everybody. One of the consistent things I've been rocking out forever, I think it's all started when I read that classic book, Miracle Morning, is I got a pretty laser beamed focused morning routine. And so, it's just I think the acronym if I remember correctly, was SAVERS. It's like silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. And I do a little bit of all of that kind of mixed up and jived into my own style. And so it's like when I don't get the morning routine, I feel like my whole day is off. So I get up early, make it happen. And I've been, I'd say, 99%, probably the last 10 years. So yeah, so that's my thing. John, you're up.
All right, thanks. Good to be with you guys. A lot of similar habits to you guys. My name is John Glutch. I run a team in Phoenix and a team in San Diego and one in Vegas, but I live in San Diego. And one that I started last year that's maybe a bit more unique is I started fasting twice a week. So it was a spiritual thing mostly, but also I'm learning. So I skip breakfast and lunch 2 days a week. And it's not actually very hard, but it is a good little reminder of, that we don't need to eat probably, at least I don't, as much as I think I do, and trying to live out Jesus's words of, man doesn't live on bread alone. So that's the process for me. And it's been really great, kind of softens my heart and my spirit, reminds me that I'm not as big of a deal as I think I am. If I don't eat, I don't live. So it's been a great practice for me. And also have learned a lot about the health benefits. It's been a win in a lot of ways. So that's been a cool habit I started last year and pretty consistent at for most every week. And I don't know who's next. Not sure. Whoever's left, by all means.
I think that's it.
Amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. I actually did intermittent fasting for a couple years as well, and that was really crazy because I always had to snack and I always had to eat, otherwise I'd get so hangry. But it's true, it's just your mind is so strong. You don't actually have to eat every second of the day or even 3 meals a day. We're just trained and taught to be that way. But that's awesome. I really love that all of us have so much in common in terms of prioritizing ourselves, our health, because I think that says a lot about where we've gotten to today, and being on this panel and focusing on ourselves is the number one thing. And I hope that we continue to do so in the upcoming year so that we can best provide and serve ourselves and everyone else around us. So I kind of want to go into our first question. So marketing strategies, I know this is something that everyone is always very interested in, is understanding what kind of strategies leaders have done to deliver the best results for your businesses. So maybe talk about your specific market, the amount of money that you might have put into it, what kind of efforts that you've tried or haven't tried that you want to do and that have worked well. I'll start with you again.
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing this for 21 years and came over to EXP in 2020. Before I came to EXP, just like everybody else, I had one bucket of income, which was commissions. Now I've got several buckets of income thanks to this amazing company and model. The last 5 years I've spent toying around with paid ads, did Google ads, did Facebook ads, even generated income through just organically through DMs. And now that I've got several buckets of income and several prospecting buckets as well, the one that I've had the most success with was my niche marketing prospecting bucket. In 2023, I spent just a little over $4,700 in ad spend, and it generated over $124,000 in GCI using this niche marketing plan that I've now developed into something cool. And I'm happy to talk to people about it if they want to. You can look up niche-ninjas.com. And, but anyways, the gist of it is I found that, a lot of agents were basically flying by the seat of their pants. And when they were unemployed as soon as their next deal was done. And, when you're doing lead generation, especially if you're, spending all your money on leads, a lot of the conversations you're having are different. So I developed this system where I was targeting specific people. In my case, the program I ran was targeting downsizers, people over the age of 50 living in a certain area, looking to downsize their lifestyle into a condo or a townhome. And so my target audience was specific, which means the conversations I was having with these leads who are essentially warm are the same. I'm not fact finding and trying to find out information, which takes time, and time is our most important asset and precious one. So I had great success with this. I didn't do a lot of like, obviously the ads are running on social media, and that's the social media component of it. But like everything else, the gold was in the follow up and, getting in front of these people and breaking bread with them, and, really learning about what their needs are and where they are in the process of downsizing. I have run multiple other campaigns using this same process for upsizers, investors, people looking to relocate from my city to other cities, and working referral networks in those cities with other agents to help them make money as well. But everything, like, this didn't happen overnight. There was a lot of trial and error on my end. There's a lot of stuff on the back end that I had to set up so that I stayed top of mind with these people and continue to do so. And essentially what these people end up being for me, because, my business is relationship based, not transactional, is they become referral sources for me. I had one person last year. I have not done business with this couple yet. I went and met with them. They liked me and they referred me to their daughter who was looking for her first home, which I helped her find. And she also referred me to her friend. So I had two ends out of that, and I've got two new referral sources, and I didn't even do business with the person that came in through my program, which was awesome. So the main thing that I'm very automated in my approach. I don't want to, I set everything up at the beginning and I let it run. For example, I have 12 newsletters that is specific to my target audience. I find a lot of people with their newsletter branding, it's too broad. Like, there's too much stuff in there. Whereas mine is specific to that lead niche. I have a newsletter for January, and it's the same newsletter every January. There's a really good chance that if I sent the newsletter to you in January of 2024 and you get it January 2025, you're not going to read it and go, hey, this guy sent this to me last January. So I might modify that, but it's evergreen in nature in the sense that it's automated and what I'm sending out can last forever. So I started building all these different programs up for these different niches that are now different income buckets on top of my existing referral income bucket that I do. And it's worked extremely well for me. So yeah, if anybody has any questions or wants to talk about how I do this in your market, happy to chat. My social media, if I'm okay to give it out here, just cut me off, is at Real Will Mansour. I'll put it in the chat. You can follow me and connect with me on a DM.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. And then you mentioned something about a niche website as well, if you want to pop that in the chat too.
Sure.
But yeah, that's super awesome. Yeah, I definitely think that having specific conversations geared and tailored towards specific niches makes such a big difference, and it goes beyond the surface level after that, to be able to know how to connect with people. And everyone can do a good job at, well, not everyone, but there's a lot of people who can do a good job at real estate, but a lot of it is also what they think about you and if they like you and trust you. So it sounds like you've done a really excellent job at that. Does anyone want to chime in on and follow up on that?
I got something, Christine, because Will said, like, my favorite words is follow up. And when I think of marketing, something that I think over the course of my career, as probably a lot of us, I've dabbled into just so many things, Zillow ads and just you name it. I've done a ton of it, which is awesome. And it's been a great experience. But now, I suppose the last few years, I've just focused on fun and follow up, right? Like, I feel like the more I can just live as genuinely as I can, help out as many people in all different kinds of ways. And then just follow up, right? Like, you can do so much through social media. I mean, I think of how cool social media is for marketing if you do it right. And it doesn't have to be a drain. It can be just having fun on there and reaching out to people and connecting with them on all of the stuff they're putting on socials. I learned actually from Jesse Itzler at EXPCon. I'm sure if anybody who went to that, I loved when he said the 3 C's that he did and he continues to do, which is compliment, console, and congratulate people every day. And then to me, you just follow up with that. So what I do now is, like, when I look on social media, I look for reasons to reach out to people, like, oh, wow, like somebody just had a baby. Awesome. Reach out to them, congratulate them. And it's just fun. And you make a connection and then you talk. And then guess what? Then you follow up with whatever you talked about. And so I just feel like marketing for me has just become more of an organic sport and something that just is a lot more fun and fulfilling, So I just created a little thing, F3, fun, fulfilling, and follow up. And it's like, just do that. And so when Will said that, I was like, yes. And so I'm really lean. I don't spend a lot of money on that other than just, I guess it is my time. But as long as I'm doing things that are in alignment with the way that I want to live, then, I mean, I don't want to say I don't feel like I'm working, but a lot of the times I don't. And then it just boils down to being consistent on the follow-up and living in your CRM with your notes about people and all of that. And you can keep pretty lean and do a really good, solid business.
Absolutely. What is it? If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So that's awesome. Someone was saying something?
No, I just clicked my mic off.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Awesome. What other marketing techniques do we have here that people want to share?
Sure, I can jump in. This is John here. I learned last year I really wanted to focus on generating more business out of my sphere. Past clients were coming up on our 2,000th home sale, which is awesome. And I realized we weren't capitalizing on the asset we had from all those past clients in our sphere as well as we should. So really started focusing on doing more events last year, but do it what I call micro events, because the idea of, we were throwing like big events and they were expensive and hard for my admin team to put together. And I was like, well, how can we do this in a way that's kind of simpler but just as effective? And so we started doing like really simple stuff. Like, for example, we did a client happy hour where we just invited people to come and to join us for, a drink and an appetizer, something like that. And it was super simple. Like, we just reserved like 2 tables at a restaurant and like didn't do an event coordinator, didn't do a special room or any of that stuff. Just like really, really simple. And invited our whole database. So a couple of things I learned was we used to invite to events because they were expensive. We would just invite like the right people, our past clients and that kind of thing. And for this one, I thought, well, let's just invite everyone. We got like 20,000 people in our database. I know they're not all going to say yes to a happy hour. So let me just invite everybody, reach out to these folks. So we did, and we kept it really simple. So like the email language we used, we got from one of my coaches, his name is Dean Jackson. And there was no landing page. There was no PDF that like marketing material. It was like really simple email that said, hey, Frank, we're hosting a client appreciation happy hour next week as a small thank you for all the great referrals and support that our clients have given us. Would you like to join us? And in the email, we didn't put when it was, we didn't put where it was, because we got people all over town. Phoenix has like 7 million people. So if we said it was on the west side, we wouldn't get replies from people on the east side and that kind of thing. So we just said, hey, would you like to come to a happy hour? And of the 20,000 we sent, I don't know, we probably got 200 replies back. And of the replies that we got back, maybe we had 25 people show up, right? So like really small event, really inexpensive, lender paid for the whole thing. And the most important thing was the 200 replies we got, because gave us a chance to talk to those people. Oh, hey, how are you enjoying the house? Some of them were like old leads we just lost track of, people we never spoke with. And we ended up getting 2 or 3 deals out of that event just from people replying to the email. Like we had one guy reply and say, he didn't even answer the question, are you interested in coming to the happy hour? He just said, hey, there's an open house over at this house over here. Can you guys show it to me? And that was like a $1.5 million deal that we actually just closed. So, and it was a lead. It wasn't like, we didn't even know the guy. It was like an old lead that we lost track of. So it kind of taught me the lesson of like just being in front of people more consistently is more important than making sure that the event is the coolest thing ever or really marketing it heavy. And so we just started doing those over and over again. We did about 6 last year. We did a little photo event where we had a photographer come and do Christmas card photos for people. So like literally 5 minutes per family. They'd come in, stand in front of the background, get a couple photos, and off they would go. And, we probably only had, 20 or 30 families show up to that, but it gave us the chance to, and the excuse to email all these people. And it's been working really well for us. And it's now just kind of a part of our strategy. We consistently do it every single time we send out an email to an event. We get lots of great, like, oh, thanks for the invite, can't make it. Lots of nice replies, lots of people who appreciate the effort. And more importantly, we get a couple deals out of it. So I would really encourage everybody to just throw your first little event, make it really simple. Don't overthink it. It's been a really great strategy for us and one of our top deal getters last year.
Thank you, John, for sharing. I know myself, I am a big perfectionist, so that really hit me strong where you really want to get the perfect event, right? But you're 100% on par that just making the time to reach out and say, hey, like I am here, doesn't have to be like perfect. It's just being there is all that matters. So that's awesome to hear that you've had so much success doing that. Mackenzie, do you have any things that you want to add in?
For myself, I think my market is a little different than you guys as far as like size wise. So I have to do things a little differently. And I'm not like a big social event type of person. So, I keep people on social media. Like as soon as we start working together, I get them on social media. I develop like a relationship with people. And for myself, like, I just try and treat people how I'd like to be treated. And I think it comes forward with how I work. And then they refer me to other people, because of the relationship. And like, it's almost like we all become family almost a little bit. I've definitely helped many people in different families. It just kind of snowballs. I done lead generation. I have a great return on that, but just developing relationships and your reputation, because we are a smaller area, there's like 3,200 agents in our area, but maybe 200 of us make a living on it, a decent living. So there's a lot of choices, I guess, in a small area, but, developing relationships and your reputation, whether that be with lenders or attorneys. We don't deal with title companies or anything out here, but like home inspectors and stuff like that is really, 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 really important for my market, at least. But yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I think that is everyone, right? Okay, perfect. So anyone else want to share anything about marketing before segueing into the next topic? All right. Well, I know the NAR lawsuit was the hottest topic of 2024, and it was a lot of, what's going to happen, what's going to change, like what's happening now. So now that it's been some time since the industry has started to see these shifts, wanted to get everyone's perspective on how that's adjusted your day to day. How have you had to adjust your approach to conversations with your sellers or your buyers or agents? But yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting topic, something that, we're all learning from. And that's the beauty of it is, great agents change with the times. And so I think now is a great opportunity for everyone to learn from each other.
I can kick us off. We had been doing buyer agreements for quite a while with our team. That had been a part of our process for many years. And so that wasn't a huge shift. A couple things that we've learned, we're certainly more consistent at it now because we have to be. So a couple things we've learned along the way are, one, that people aren't always ready to have a buyer meeting, right? So we've learned like a bit of a cadence. If someone is wants to see a house, then our process, if we don't have any rapport with them and they just called us on a sign call or whatever, they just want to see a house. Then our strategy there has been, okay, great. We'll just, and we communicate to them, I would say something like this. Hey, are you familiar with the new rules regarding the requirement to have a signed document in order to see homes in the area? And people say yes or no. You say, yeah, it's really simple. And we just try to make it really, really not a big deal. It's really simple. It's just like a 2-page form. And basically it just explains how I would help you if you decided this was the house for you, how I would help you purchase the property, how we get paid. It's really simple. It's cancelable. It doesn't obligate you to buy a home. Would you like me to send that over now so you can have a look at it, or you just want me to bring it to the house and we can sign it right there before we head in? And it's almost everybody's like, okay, it's not a problem. They're just like, yeah, just bring it to the house, right? We try not to surprise people just showing up to this house with a form. So using that language helps kind of minimize it. And then at the house, we're trying really hard to book, if they want the house, obviously we'll sell the house. But if not, we're trying hard to book more showings and an appointment where we can really walk them through a full-blown buyer presentation, walk them through the process, all that kind of thing. For some people, though, we get a lot of out-of-state buyers, people who are going to move in 6 months or 3 months or whatever, or people who are just kind of interested in starting to look. We have learned, don't push a meeting right away, because some people just don't want to have a 30-minute or hour-long meeting, and they just kind of want a search set up. And so that's what we do, is we just say, okay, great, tell me what you're looking for, and we want to get them some kind of benefit from working from us right away. So we'll get them set up on our search. We use Real Scout, where we just send them properties and kind of get them going. And then we're really pushing to get feedback. So we're using the houses as an excuse to get a meeting. So hey, great, let me set this search up. Give me your basics. I'm going to send you some examples of properties that fit based on our conversation today, but I'm sure I'll get a few things wrong. You're going to look at a few things and go, oh, I don't really like this, or I love that. So how about we set an appointment now? We'll jump on a Zoom next week and review the feedback that we're learning about each other from the homes that we're sending. And that's sort of our excuse to do a meeting, to do a full-blown presentation, review their search, and then get an agreement signed. The other thing I've really learned is to leverage EXP exclusives. So our program that we operate, I don't know how familiar everyone is with it, but it's really a spectacular way for us to differentiate ourselves, because at EXP, if depending on the area you're in Arizona, and San Diego, and Phoenix, people use it a lot. So there are literally hundreds of properties that are on EXP exclusives that are not on the market yet. They're coming soon properties. And that is such a great differentiator. So when we have the meeting, a big part of what we're doing is explaining to the buyers, hey, look, we're going to get access to properties before anybody else. And that really does set us apart, because other brokers can't make that claim near to the extent that we can. So that's been a great tool. I created a YouTube video I'll post in the chat that explains to everybody how to be sure that you're signed up for EXP exclusives, how to use it, how to put your listings on it, because it's one of those tools where the more people that use it, the better. It's kind of like Uber. If you only had one person using Uber, it wouldn't be a very valuable service, or one person using Facebook, and it's not super great. But with EXP exclusives, if we get lots of people putting their listings on there before they come to market, it becomes a super valuable tool. So I'll post that YouTube video I did that explains kind of step-by-step how to get all your listings on there, and how we use it as a unique selling proposition to differentiate ourselves as buyers, great buyers agents who have access to houses that nobody else has. So really great asset for us here at EXP. And that's really helped us to stand out. And that's a couple of the things we've learned along the way.
Thank you. I'm in Chicago and I don't use the exclusives as much as I feel like you do. So I think you're right. It does depend a lot on different markets. What other thoughts do we have about that or the NAR conversations?
I think the NAR for myself, I was actually excited when all of these changes came about, for my market at least. My previous brokerage, we were told to have the buyer's agency contract signed, and, it didn't hold its weight when the time came that it was needed. So we kind of all just like, ugh, whatever, I'm not even going to do it. So it wasn't a habit for most agents in my area. So when that came about, you have to have confidence. And there was so many agents that been in the business forever that were like scared about this document, having to sign it. And it was like, okay, move out of the way, and it's time to, let the people shine that know what they're doing. And then there's so many new agents. So we all had to be educated, which was really good. And I haven't really had any problem with getting anybody to sign the buyer's agency contract. Actually, right now, I've got a guy that I helped the last couple of years and he kind of fell off. And then now he came about and I told him, you need to get this signed, and he doesn't want to sign it. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? It weeds out the people that I'm not going to waste my time on, and it makes me focus a little bit more on be productive with the people who actually do want to buy or sell. But I think it's actually been really great, and it protects our commissions too. So for me, of course, anything, that's changing is scary, but in the end, we got to find something positive, with everything. So that was my experience with it. And I think it's just confidence. You have to educate yourself and not overthink and just act like you know what you're doing, and develop relationships too. And then people trust you and they want to work with you. So that was my experience.
Yeah, I want to double tap on that, Mackenzie. I think it's awesome. I thought it was an awesome thing that happened. I mean, it was kind of a long-term coming. It was kind of surprising that, you would never list a home without a listing contract, and you couldn't, right? In most states, right? I mean, you just technically you can't. And so it was always kind of weird to me, even when I got into the business, that the brokers always encouraged it, but it wasn't required. And it was like, oh, it's so weird that the buyer side is not taken quite as seriously as the listing side is. And I had always thought that was kind of unique and kind of weird. And so yeah, I thought it was awesome. And then I also kind of thought it was a long time coming as far as having all commissions be negotiable, right? Like, because they had said, I mean, we've always said all commissions are negotiable, and technically they kind of have been, but really they weren't always like that. And a lot of brokers, would make rules around commissions and stuff like that. And obviously that's what probably got everybody into a lot of heat. And so back in like 2019, we started kind of shifting ourselves from that a little bit. And so, yeah, I thought that was awesome. Just some of the changes. I mean, they kind of forced it. It's never fun when things are forced, because, everybody's just, you have to react and stuff like that. But other than that, I thought it was great. And I think the people who have been in business for a long time and they run a solid business, they have no issues pivoting. Like if they weren't doing it exactly like what some of the rules changes dictated, well, they just pivot and they're like, okay, cool. I think where the problem lies is when people bury their heads in the sand and like, oh, I don't want to change. I don't want to do this. And it's like, well, I mean, I guess that's just not going to work because, these are things that just, hey, this is what's mandated. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, let's just do it and figure out how to capitalize on it. So I embraced the change. We had embraced a lot of the changes early on years ago, but I thought it was awesome.
Sweet. Will, what about you?
We don't have NAR up in Canada.
Oh my gosh, of course. Okay. Well, that hasn't affected you at all then, huh? Okay. That makes sense.
Not really, but some of the things that I guess got forced upon, we kind of have something similar. And, we are required to have a buyer agency agreement signed with a buyer prior to taking them out. Do I do that with people that I already know, like, and trust? Absolutely not. However, just last night, I have a relocation buyer from Washington, D.C. who's coming up here who wants to spend $2 million on a house and pay cash. So that's a red flag for me right away. And I'll have to do some due diligence to make sure that I'm not burning my time with this buyer. Sounded pretty good when I spoke to her, but sometimes if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yep.
And I would get that type of buyer to sign something up front, 100%. But call me crazy, but I work on trust, and I usually have a buyer agency agreement signed once it's time to put an offer in place.
Okay. Nice. So then a lot of other questions and concerns I think people have are, are commissions going to generally stay similar to what the standard has been? Or do you guys feel like you've been seeing that commissions have been negotiated down more from a listing agent perspective or a buyer's agent perspective? Or have you guys been seeing things that are still kind of staying the same?
Christine, I'll tackle this one first. I think it's interesting because whatever the consumer wants, the consumer gets eventually. I mean, that's how kind of the free market world works. And so I have noticed, in the last, I think once it hit like national news, where everybody, all consumers, the public knew about this whole commissions are negotiable thing. I really hear or feel, and it's anecdotal, but I feel and hear the sentiment of that the commissions were probably just too high, or they were on the higher end, in the sense of what I'm saying when I'm saying this. I'm saying that through the conversations that I've had with the direct buyers and sellers, it's just more on their radar now, and they're kind of being like, well, wait a second, are there more options? Are there different ways to do it? And so, I think it'll be interesting how it ends up shaking out in the next couple of years. And from some of the stats I've seen, at least, from NAR and from some of the national stats, that the average commission is having some downward pressure on it. And so it kind of makes sense, because I think the consumer is just like, hey, all right, well, we can probably negotiate a little bit harder than we thought. And so that's why I think it's, the free markets will kind of dictate what that ends up being. And so, but ultimately you also are, it's based upon value as well. I mean, if you offer awesome value and you can convey that to the consumer, of course they're willing to pay. And so I think that's important as far as the commission conversation goes.
Can I add on to that too?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've always been a strong believer in know your worth. And if you provide great service and you do your job, you need to know your worth. And I've seen, since this has all played out, a lot of agents discounting themselves just to get business. And I don't agree with that. I think, yes, everything is negotiable, but it is also our choice as agents, because this is our business, that we don't have to discount ourselves. And I think when you get to a certain point in your career, like okay, this is what I'm worth and this is what I charge, and that is what it is. And I don't know if it's like me being stubborn sometimes, but there was a time in the first few years, it was like, whatever, you do whatever. And then you start valuing yourself a little bit more. And I haven't noticed in our market, sellers are still compensating most of the time. In the beginning, there was a few that were like, no, they're not paying, but we don't work for free. So we still get paid, where there's a will, there's a way. Okay. But the house prices have gone up so much in my market that, okay, yeah, the commissions are a little lower, but you're still making more, in the end. And so just know your worth. That's when I used to train agents and mentor agents with my previous company. That is the one thing that I always said, know your worth and do not discount yourself, because once somebody starts discounting, everybody starts discounting, and it hurts our whole industry. And we do provide value, and we're not just opening doors. And I work as a buyer's agent probably like 80% of the time, and I always have loved working with buyers. So know your worth. That's what is so important. And have confidence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you value yourself, it sets the tone for how others will treat and respect you. So you're absolutely right. And I think if you take a big discount on your work, you may end up overworking yourself, and then the quality of your work may end up decreasing because you're trying to make up for your commissions. But I know that I think something I think Joey was saying about free markets, it's very true. I think eventually there's going to be a lot of conversations that do happen based on how people are feeling and what they think is worth. But also, it depends on how much the sale of a home could be. Like if it's under 300, right? Like some people I've seen charge minimum 3% because the amount of work you're putting into it, it's not like it's any less than a $2 million home, but you're making significantly less. So it's a little bit more justifiable for a larger sale transaction to take a little bit less of an income, or vice versa. What do you guys think about that? Have you heard that, or?
I agree with you on that one. But our market is not at the 2 million market. So
yeah,
I can't speak to, I mean, yes, there are those homes, but that is not normal, where
right.
I'm from.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing, I'm in San Diego and Scottsdale. So commissions are definitely closer to like 2.5%, I would say, is more normal than 3%, because the prices are so much higher, on those more elevated properties. And as you climb, those rates do tend to go down, which makes sense. I mean, in some ways they're more work, but the checks get pretty significant as those prices climb. So we definitely see commission compression there for sure.
So it seems like everyone here is pretty for the changes. Have there been significant challenges that you see that other agents may be facing that they're not sure how to handle with this situation? And how do you feel like us as leaders here are able to help our community and with educating them and the appropriate responses and next steps to moving forward?
I'll just add that I have noticed that some agents, have decided to leave the business because of this change. But you just have to be consistent and educate yourself on it, learn about it, feel confident with it. And it's the new way. So there's no changing it. So you just kind of have to accept it and move forward.
Most definitely. It's not made for the weak.
Christine, I think it's important just to come from contribution on it, because I think a lot of agents, especially, I almost felt kind of bad for agents that got into the business, whatever, 3-4 years ago. Market was kind of crazy, and then all of a sudden all these big changes. And so, agents that are maybe a little bit more experienced, it's like, share the love, right? Share the experience, share what you're doing. I'm just a firm believer in that. And I think that that's important. And you learn so much through that process of teaching and sharing the wisdom that you got. Because there are probably a lot of agents that, I think about an agent that got into the business, 2 years ago, right? And then they're just like, all of a sudden, boom, all these weird things are happening. And of course, people who have maybe been in the business for 25 years, they rode the 2008 debacle and whatever. And they're just kind of like, hey, this is part of the game, the ups and downs of the market, the ups and downs of just the industry, whatever. Just again, it's share how you're pivoting, and just kind of live that contribution without condition type of mentality. And that just comes back to you too, because then when you need support, there's other agents out there that you helped, and it just all comes back around. So I think that that's important as far as the agent community goes.
Absolutely. Sometimes people forget where they come from. And I think it's so important to stay grounded and humble and remember your beginnings, because we've all been there, and there's only good things that can come out of helping everyone around us. So yeah, I'm definitely, I can definitely feel the love and energy that you put out there, Joey. So that's awesome.
And you know what? It reminds me, because I got into the business in 2010, and it was hilarious because like there was all the short sales and stuff.
Mhm.
And I remembered, I was like, wait, I thought people made money in real estate, right? Like, meaning when I got in the business and people were like losing money all over the place. And I was like, what is going on? And so I kind of got to remember those days of always having a beginner mindset of being like, okay, listen, I don't know everything. Yeah, I've been in the business for 15 years. I have experience. But there's also a ton to learn. I'm still learning stuff. So it's like, I think going into it and having that beginner mindset is really crucial, because it's easy when you get 15, 20, 25 years to get crusty and to be like, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and just rest on my laurels. It's like, well, no, I'm here to like grow and learn. And I know I'm never going to know it all. So just keep learning.
Absolutely. Yep. Perfect. Anyone else have anything to add before we segue into our last topic? Amazing. Okay. So going to go into a topic on networking. This can be pertaining to networking in your sphere of influence, or networking in terms of your business relationships. What are some things that we do here? I know we've kind of talked about hosting happy hours, good follow-ups, getting in front of people, building niches. But what other things do you guys have insights on that you want to share in regards to networking?
I don't mind starting with this one. So I used to, like 20 plus years doing this, and in the beginning I was very active with my networking, and then you start doing a lot of deals, and then you can become very complacent and comfortable. But I very rarely will say no to anything I'm asked to do, just because you're surrounded by people, and this is a people business. So everybody would own or sell or rents or whatever real estate or invest in it. And I've got a good story to tell, and I don't really come out with that story unless it gets asked of me. But some of the examples, like, join a sports team. If you do recreational sports, join a club. I'm a member at a private golf club. I play golf at least 3 days a week. And one of those days I play as a single so I can get to know other members. I have not paid my annual dues in 5 years because I'm constantly developing rapport, like, and trust for 4 hours at a time with people that I don't know, that I get to know, that refer me or they use me for their real estate business or their needs. And so I will do that. Family functions, always show up. I mean, you got to show up to any networking event, and anything's a networking event. Another example is I have 3 face-to-face meetings a week with past clients, and I go do coffees. I'll go for walks. We'll go for lunches, whatever. I'll take them to sporting events, but I have 3 face-to-face meetings a week in my schedule every single week with people that already know, like, and trust me. And, we don't talk about real estate until the last part of the conversation. I'm basically listening to them about what's going on with their kids, their families. What are they into? Are they taking any trips? or that maybe somebody's not well, and I'm being empathetic and listening to that. I hate to say this, like, you got to show up for people. Like, I had my friend's brother, who I didn't even know, suddenly passed away a couple of weeks ago, and they were my clients were shocked to see me at the visitation, and I didn't go there for any other reason than to pay my respects. But I couldn't believe they were shocked to see me there. I expected them to expect to see me there, and they were really shocked when they saw me there. So you got to pay attention to what's going on in your network's life, and show up for them. It'll go a long way in building the trust that you're trying to build in this relationship business that we're in. And, always never, ever say no. Even if you show up for 20 minutes, there's been times where I didn't want to go, and I'm just, hey, I got something else I got to do tonight that I already committed to, but I'm going to be here for about half an hour. And I did not want to show up. And anyways, that's basically how I operate with my networking.
It's the 3 C's, right, Joey? This is the consoling part. So,
Will, that was awesome. And I posted in the chat an article I ran into a long time ago. I saved it. It's called Doing Good versus Doing Nothing. And it transformed my entire opinion on funerals. And I posted it in the chat. Have a look at it. It's actually randomly from this website, Art of Manliness. That's just I don't even know what that site is, but someone sent me the article. Doing good versus doing nothing is a great thing on always going to the funeral. And so that just reminded me of that. And I wanted to bring up one of my words of 2025 for networking. And it's a word I ran into, like, I don't even know, 6 months ago on some blog. And it was talking about bubble hopping. And what bubble hopping is just getting into different bubbles that you normally wouldn't get into, so like silly examples would be going to a concert of a genre of music that you have you know nothing about, or going to like a restaurant that you've never heard of, or even a networking group that, we go like, sales networking and all this, like real estate networking and stuff. And like, what would happen if you went to I don't even know, like knitting networking group, whatever. I mean, knitting is a silly example. I don't know why I thought of that, but not only do you get a chance to grow, but you open up your network to just almost a broader range. You learn things you don't know, and you meet people you wouldn't normally meet. And so that's kind of an intention that I'm setting for myself, because I'm like, all right, I want to not be, what's the term? Like we're a lot of times in social media and in our worlds, we're in this echo chamber where we constantly hear very similar messages. Well, the only really way to get out of that sometimes is to get into different bubbles. And then plus you're building your network and you're learning about different topics. And so it's just kind of a fun thing that I intend to do regarding networking this year.
Love it.
I'm in a little bit of a unique spot because I live in San Diego. I don't have a license here. I have a team, but not a license. I just refer all my business to my team. So I'm still trying to generate business, but it's a little bit different than like when I lived where I sold. But one thing I have done pretty well recently is leverage what I do. So I'm not like as socially involved here as I was in Arizona, but I like CrossFit. I like going to the gym and go, you get to know at a smaller group type gym, you get to know everybody pretty quick. And the gap I try to bridge is, there's other realtors there, and we don't talk a lot about business, just, mostly we're just there to work out and kind of hang out. So I thought, okay, well, how can I differentiate myself and make sure everyone knows that I got a team and we run a business here? And so I sponsored a event at the gym. And I've done this a couple of times. We did it in Arizona too. And little gym owners are always happy to have somebody help create an event for them. So we did like a little challenge at my gym. And I said, okay, how about this? I'll provide shirts for everyone who enters the challenge and who completes the challenge. And so we just had everyone sign up, and I created a little landing page. So I collected everybody's, name, phone number, email, and address, and got shirts for everyone. And the shirts were mostly like about the challenge, but they had my little logo on there and all that. So it's kind of nice that people are wearing shirts to the gym with my, logo on it. But more importantly, I got their contact information. And so then I started emailing them all the stuff that I email everybody else in our database, like the events I talked about earlier, the happy hours, the movie nights, the whatever, the market updates once a month on what's going on in the market. And so it was a really great bridge to take people from, kind of casual acquaintances. Some of them knew what I did, some of them don't, to people. Now I'm like definitely the most known real estate agent in the gym. And I'm constantly in front of them, and I'm going on sending one of my teammates on a listing appointment in the next week or two for a property one of the guys at the gym wants to sell. So I couldn't even have told you this guy's name. When he emailed me, I had to figure out who the heck he was. But just the fact that I was in front of them regularly worked. So throwing events as a participant is a good way to turn folks, or sponsoring, like at the golf club, sponsoring something. But the key is you got to get the data, got to get the people's info. That's where the magic happens.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Perfect. Well, we've got 5 minutes left. So I want to close the conversation with everyone sharing a book recommendation that's either made a difference or they feel like they've learned something that you've taken out of it, or someone maybe that's been recommended a book. And I'll let you guys end with that.
I'll go first. So my favorite book of 2024 was The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's all about this guy, Alfred Elder's psychology. He was one of the big three, along with Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, like back in the day. And it's actually in parable format between like a older man and a young man kind of thing. And it's just like a conversation based upon them, but really, really good. Some huge insights, kind of blew my mind. And so check that one out, The Courage to Be Disliked.
I can go next. I'm not a big reader per se. I guess I haven't had a lot of time to sit down and read books, but I do listen to a podcast every evening. I really like Jay Shetty. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but it's a lot of like, you learn about just self-help type of things and just different people's perspective on life and things like that. So for me, I like the podcast. So I would highly recommend Jay Shetty, checking him out.
Yeah, Jay Shetty's got a good book. If you haven't read it, Think Like a Monk. Good book, good story. I read all the time. I also listen to podcasts. I run too myself, but one of the books that I read every year around this time is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. If you haven't read it, it's a very good book. He basically tells a story in this book, and it's a good book to kick your butt into gear. I love it, and I actually enjoy reading while listening to the audiobook. I feel like I absorb more of the information while doing that. So I don't listen to a lot of music in my car. I will listen to podcasts and audiobooks because I find if I'm going to spend the time in my car, I might as well be learning something. So The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. It's not a new book. It's an older book. If you haven't read it, it's really easy to read, and it's phenomenal.
I'll share one that's not so much, well, I'll share one spiritual, one business. Spiritual book that I really love is a book called Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer. And that's where I got the fasting idea from. But he gives like just a set of spiritual kind of practices or habits that can help form you into more loving person. And it's been real transformational for me. I think it's fantastic. And then one I'll recommend for people who are starting to build teams or to really create a business, people who want to like, if you have any ambition to like hire people and exit the business in terms of production, not everyone wants to do that. And I don't recommend that everybody does it, but people who want to do that, the E-Myth Revisited is a spectacular book for how to turn a job into a business. And it's not just necessarily for people who want to create teams, but it really focuses a lot on how to create systems and how to use leverage in the form of people to create a real business and a real system. And that's a great one that